Do you think this is important? Because in China, in America, in Russia, part of the curriculum is I'm proud to be from the country I'm from.
I just don't think it's very British, and I think coming from the most unpatriotic party that we have, who spew hate and divisive rhetoric all day long, telling our schools, state schools, and they've all come from private schools, that we need to be re-educating and teaching history in a way that you want it to be taught. We're Britain, we're not MAGA, we're not America, USA. We actually look at things balanced and equally. My son's studying history. He's actually proud to be British, but he also knows what was wrong about our British Empire and what was wrong about our British history, but he's still proud. How you get the young to be proud of your country is not by teaching it, it's by creating a society that we can love. At the moment, the youth have got no money, no chances of getting on the property ladder, no further education help. They've got no help financially. How can they love a country when they're poor? You know, you've got to create a society that they can love. At the moment, they're poor. They can't love this. But this has got nothing to do with history and teaching it in a way that's very fascist.
I don't know whether you agree with a single word of that.
Well, I'm sorry, Narinder, I think that's a load of mumbo-jumbo. You're just...
Well, of course you were going to say that.
There. But look, today is a very special day, right? We're celebrating Victory in Europe Day. How many schools have you seen pictures of in the paper with the Victory in Europe celebration? How many schools have actually boasted and said, we've been working for a week on Victory in Europe Day? I haven't seen any at all, right?
That's because of the press.
But it was a momentous moment 80 years ago when we saved the world from the dictatorship of Nazism, OK? We have got a fantastic history, and I want children in this country to be taught the proper history of England, not politically leaned on by left-wing teachers.
Hang on a minute.
There is a left-wing bias.
Wait a minute. Before we get totally carried away, Zia Yusuf himself says not everything about the history of the British Empire is something we can be proud of. Even he says that.
Yes.
So are
like
you...
every country in the world.
OK, quite, absolutely, quite right.
Yeah.
But are you saying, therefore, Mike, that what should happen is cherry-picking?
No.
That what children should be taught is the good bits
and
leave out the bad bits?
Not at all.
What are you looking for?
I want it told factually. So, for instance, the slave trade. Most people are taught that the slave trade was an abomination, which it was, and that we were massively involved in it. Very few people are told we abolished the slave trade. In 1830, Britain led the way.
We all learn that at school.
No, we do. We do know that, actually, but we're also not taught. We are also not taught that actually black and brown communities helped this country in World War II. 43% of the nation.
Of course we are.
More than half.
We all know about people who came to this country in the Caribbean. Well, I do.
There was a poll that you're educated, but a poll was done, and over half of this country don't know this. Black and brown people died for this country.
Well, let's take a call.
People don't know.
Let's talk to Jean. Jean's on the line in London.
Our empire was magnificent.
Jean, do you feel as if children, young people, need to be taught a different spin, you might say, or a different side to our history? What do you think?
Well, if I can get a word in edgeways...
Well, I'm asking you, Jean, and I'm determined you will.
I think we should be taught to be proud of our country, because the Americans have always been proud of their country. I worked in America for a while, and if you dare to say anything against America, you really got a verbal bashing from people around you. You didn't dare to say anything derogatory about America. And they were the last people to abolish the slave trade. Mike is right. William Wilberforce came in with a few others and spoke in Parliament about the atrocity of slavery. And by the way, modern slavery is still happening today, not by Britain, by other countries are practicing modern-day slavery.
Yes, I agree.
Why don't they get it in the you know? Why don't they get a mouthful of verbals?
Why do we tolerate China? You know, China has an active slave trade, OK? We all know that. The
we have slave trade.
But why aren't we criticising China today?
Because we want to talk about our problems. And Jean, may I just say, William Wilberforce going into Parliament, you can't set fire everywhere, then put the fire out and say, well, actually, I put the fire out. We benefited from slavery, this country did, by millions and millions of pounds.
We spent 10%
but
of
we
our
still
national product to get rid of slavery.
Give Jean a chance. She said if she can get a word in. Go on, Jean.
Built this country as well. The Irish navvies that came over built the roads. There were British workmen long before immigration happened that came and worked to build houses and roads and all the rest of it. It wasn't all black labour. The Irishmen came in on the roads. I know a lot of them got a lot of stick off the landladies, no Irish, no dogs, and all the rest of it.
Absolutely, but
I'm aware of that. I'm not ignorant. I'm aware of the history of Britain, and we haven't done any worse or any better than the rest of the empires that have ruled the world.
All right, thank you very much for the call. Good to hear from you. Let's talk to Miranda, who's on the line in London. Miranda, you've got really some quite constructive thoughts about how the curriculum could go and how the school day could go. What would you like to see?
Well, I think I'd like to see, for starters, the national anthem being sung from the time you go into the school gate. I think at the start of the day it would be a great, nice idea.
In schools, I mean, do you remember the days when they used to play it in cinemas and theatres after the function? I remember that, and also on the television.
Last at night.
Last thing at night on the television, and people used to stand up in their own living rooms, didn't they? Do you remember that, Miranda?
Absolutely right. No, I do remember that.
Would you like to see that again?
I did grow up. Well, I mean, in the evening is one thing, but I think for the curriculum. And it's so diverse. We've got a beautiful country. We live in a beautiful country.
Yeah.
It's diverse. We're welcoming and all of that. But I just think, and we obviously have a lot to thank many nations for with their support and help in the Second World War and whatever, the First World War. But I just think it would be a nice thing to show patriotism within our schools. You know, to start the day with the national anthem. They do actually do this in America.
There's an awful lot of, saluting the flag and that kind of thing, which isn't a kind of British tradition to have flags, the Union flag in the classroom or any kind of reference to it. I don't remember that ever happening, but certainly the national anthem was played all over the place all the time.
Absolutely. You see the Union Jack in Northern Ireland more than you see it on the mainland because they feel more proud to be part of the United Kingdom than people
I don't think
do.
it's because Brits don't feel proud. I just don't think it's very British. We just don't. We find it a bit naff. We find it a bit corny to be saluting
we should be
flags.
Proud of our great country. We've done great things.
We're not saying
we exported civilization around the world.
Oh my God, that sounds
the British exported civilization around the world. I'm telling you, you go anywhere in the world now, look at their legal systems, and you'll see courtrooms which are just like the Old Bailey.
You exploited the world.
We empowered the world.
If anyone cares what I think, it seems to me that what we need is an even-handed curriculum where not only do we own and take responsibility for the things that we did around the world that we are not proud of, so the oppression and the pillaging and the slavery and all those things, which certainly are part of our history, but also we own the good things that
Revolution?
We did. But
we're talking about remoralising the youth.
It's not a yes and no, it's both,
What about the Industrial Revolution, which triggered capitalism around the world?
The youth don't care.
The Industrial Revolution in this country is the reason why the world is so wealthy today.
Mike,
it started here.
Young people need to care about is their future. And at the moment, they don't really have a future. They can't get on the property ladder. They don't get an education. They don't get a proper wage.
Let's move on. Let's move on.